Gardiner's Island, New York. Located between Long Island's North and South Forks, it's the oldest privately owned island in the United States. Today, there's a curious marker that tells the story of an infamous pirate that came ashore in 1699 to bury some of his treasure. His name was Captain William Kidd.
William Kidd's career was quite interesting. He began as a legitimate privateer. English officials hired him to go hunt pirates up in the Red Sea region. And when he gets over there, his men are anxious. They think they're going to be getting some treasure in this, and they really haven't been doing anything of the sort. His gunner, in fact, allegedly was inspiring a mutiny against Kidd, and Captain Kidd murdered his gunner by smashing him in the head with a wooden bucket. He does then become a pirate.
According to a general history of the pirates, Captain Kidd turns to piracy to appease his disgruntled crew, and together they capture many ships. And in 1698, they seize their greatest prize, a wealthy Armenian ship named the Quedagh Merchant.
Captain Kidd's most successful and gruesome raid was the 400-ton Quedagh Merchant. This was a simply enormous vessel that was carrying gold, silver, treasure, and actually a huge quantity of sugar, which was actually an incredibly expensive commodity at the time. Not only did they take the treasure, but they also took the ship as well. So this was an enormous haul.
In July of 1699, Captain Kidd was arrested in Boston for piracy and murder. His buried treasure on Gardiner's Island was recovered by authorities, and Kidd was sent to England to stand trial. Facing a death sentence, Captain Kidd tried to barter for his very life.
The buried treasure that was recovered on Gardiner's Island was only worth about $1 million in today's money. As they were about to execute him in London, he was trying to bargain with the crown by saying, I've got another buried treasure worth what today would be like $150 million. Spare my life and I will lead you to it. They didn't buy it, and it was more advantageous to them to execute him. But word of it spread shortly after his death, and his buried treasure became hugely popular.
The hidden location of Captain Kidd's lost treasure has been sought out for centuries. And many believe that the confession of a crew member holds the key to the treasure's whereabouts.
50 years after Kidd's death, an old sailor was on his deathbed and said he'd been part of Kidd's crew and that they had buried a treasure somewhere around Nova Scotia on an island covered with oaks. And that story spread like wildfire, and it started the idea that there was a buried treasure of Captain Kidd, possibly on Oak Island, because there's no other island that's covered with oak trees. And that area was known for being infested with pirate crews.
Oak Island, Nova Scotia is one of the 300-plus islands that dot Mahone Bay. Just what would lead treasure hunters to point specifically to this location as a possible resting place for a notorious pirate stash? Some believe clues can be found in treasure maps that were allegedly drawn by Captain Kidd himself.
There are maps that identify Oak Island as the location of Kidd's treasure. One in particular appears in the book Captain Kidd and His Skeleton Island. There's a lot of things about it that are compelling because of the remarkable similarity to landmarks on the island.
Could the map's striking resemblance to Oak Island indicate that Captain Kidd's treasure might really be buried here? Many believe the answer came in 1795 when a teenage boy named Daniel McGinnis noticed a curious man-made depression in the ground.
It was a perfect circle and quite large, and he realized this didn't happen naturally. Somebody did this, and then immediately thought this could be Kidd's treasure. And he recruited a couple of friends to come out to the island with him and dig.
The boys dug and they dug and they dug. And About 90 feet down, they found a very intriguing stone with mysterious inscription on it, which translated said, 40 feet below, 2 million pounds are buried.
2 million pounds, 40 feet below. To many, the peculiar inscription can only mean one thing. It marks the lost treasure of Captain William Kidd.
That's 2 million English pounds, a vast amount of money. So why didn't they just go down and get it? Well, the boys dug down, but the whole pit flooded. And that's been pretty much the case to this day. So whether Kidd's treasure is there or not, we don't know.
The potential site of Captain Kidd's buried treasure has remained filled with water for over 2 centuries. And while many treasure hunters have launched expeditions in search of this prize, at least 6 have lost their lives in the process.
Centuries of treasure hunters have come thinking they're the ones who are finally going to solve the secret of Oak Island. A number of them, many of them, have sunk everything they had into it. It's cost them their lives, their reputations, but they haven't been able to pull out because there's always the sense that if you stop now, it might be just right around the corner and somebody else will come and get it.